I didn't really see a lot of it when we were dating. It was right before we got married. He always had the thought process that if I knew who he was or what he had done, that I really couldn't love him. And no matter what I would say to reassure him, he always held on to that. And he would say often, if you want out, if you want a divorce, then I will give you everything. You don't deserve this. And he truly believed that he was, the cause of our life and the hardships that we had, and that if he wasn't in them, that my life would be better. March of 2013, Pete had back surgery. From that point forward, he was prescribed 220 oxy a month. In January 2014, he was in New York to help his dad. He checked himself into the VA mental hospital out there and felt like he was going to hurt himself. I would talk to him in the mornings for just a few minutes, and he would just call me, just crying, and really wouldn't be able to speak to me. And I didn't realize that when Pete came home, he seemed so much better. He was going to get off oxy. He was going to, everything was just going to be better, and he seemed better. And I think at that time I had to believe it because I just didn't know what else to do. We also struggled to have a baby for 4 years. And I remember we'd gone through all the testing for IVF. And I remember telling him, in 12 weeks, because that's when all of that would be over, our life is going to be so much different. And what I didn't realize was that it was true. 12 weeks later, our life was completely different. I could tell over the past couple of weeks that he'd been taking something. And I mean, he confessed that he was, but he was just different. And I remember that night being so angry with him. And he fell asleep on the couch, and I was kind of happy because with me was the last place I wanted him to be. And I remember him waking up so happy and stretching out his arms and asking me to come give him a hug. And I remember going to the couch and giving him just a half-hearted hug. I don't remember if I told him I loved him. I don't remember saying anything nice. When I got home, there was an unmarked car, although I didn't know it at the time, in front of my house. And when I pulled up and got out of the garage, there were 2 detectives standing there. And I remember just kind of listening to them and not knowing what's coming. And then they said, that Pete stood up at the back of a truck and said, "Tell my wife I love her, and that I'm doing this for her."
The Sunday before Veterans Day, when Chad and Kathy Robichaud from Mighty Oaks were going to come, I wasn't going to go to church that Sunday. It was my first Sunday for Veterans Day, and it was just going to be too difficult. We always do something big for Veterans Day, and I just couldn't handle it. It was very raw for me at that moment. It was 5 months after Pete had passed. So I just had already planned on not going. My mom came down. We were going to hang out for the weekend. When Kelly called me, she invited me to church and said, I feel like God is going to do something, and we want you to know we are sensitive to your needs, and we think about you, but I just feel led to call you. And so I decided to go on that Sunday, and it was extremely difficult. I cried through the entire service, and when Chad was going through his testimony, it was at that point that I realized I wanted to tell the other side of it, because Pete was one, because he didn't have a physical ailment, he wasn't missing a limb or that type of thing, that he really felt that he should be able to deal with this, that he should be Marine enough or man enough or whatever it is to deal with it on his own. And that just wasn't the case. And because of that, I wanted to show what the other side looks like. What happens if you don't get help? What happens and what your family looks like? After service, I talked to Kathy Robichaud and told her that and said, I wished I could show what the other side looks like. And she said, we've been looking for someone who would come and tell your story. And she said, will you come to our December Fight Club? Looking back now, I realize just how pivotal that Sunday was. Because had I chose not to go that Sunday, none of this would have happened. I would have never had another opportunity to speak at Mighty Oaks or to hear them speak. What I didn't realize was that how God was going to heal me in going, how he was going to allow me to forgive Pete through speaking with these men, how he was going to allow me to see him better with speaking with these men and understanding him better. He's placed me there to be a part of their lives, and how for some of them, me being there was what changed it for them, and how for me being there is what changed it for me. When Pete died, I had believed without a shadow of a doubt that God was going to heal his mind, that God was going to heal his body, and that he was going to have this amazing testimony. And I believed it with everything I had. So when he died, it shook me to the core. And I truly believe that, God let me down, that in a sense, like he betrayed me, that I did what I was supposed to do. I prayed for my husband. We went to church. We did everything we were supposed to do. And so I couldn't understand why God would allow this to happen. I had to learn who God was. And I remember in my grief group, them talking about, you're in a basement and there's windows and you can see the sunshine, and that's God, and he's there. And then the windows get blackened out, and that's kind of your grief or your tragedy. And it doesn't mean that the sun's still not out there, you just can't see it or feel it. And that really is what grief or tragedy does to you. It makes you feel that God isn't there. It wasn't until months later that I realized that God brought people into my life to take care of me. My Sunday school class who would mow my lawn every single week. The friends that would call me every Wednesday night after grief group and would check on me and would show up at my house with coffee when they knew I was having a bad day. I realized that God had placed those people in my life to take care of me and to show me who he was. And I had to learn that it devastated God, and it broke his heart the day that Pete died and the choice that he made. And that, although I don't understand it, and I will never understand it, in a sense, the testimony that I believed that Pete would always have, I'm living out now. On my darkest days, on, the days that I have no idea how I got through them, on my great days, on my okay days, that, God never left my side. When I didn't feel him, it doesn't mean that he wasn't there. In doing this, it allowed me to connect with other people, to connect with other wives, to connect with veterans. In a sense, I'm doing what he did by bringing people in my life. I'm able to show them now that they're not alone. That's my purpose. And I think that's all of our purpose, is to be able to show hope to everyone around us and to show God's love to everyone around us.